is going to be the log splitter right here. There's a couple things to know about this as well. Right in here, you're going to have your fuel tank. Make sure it's full. That's the first thing I check whenever I service anything. Then you're going to go down to your oil. Right here. Go ahead and check it. You just want it to be right there to the tip. Right up to the neck. I'm going to go ahead and check your air filter. These don't have too many things to do on them, but they can be tricky sometimes. If you look at the top of these filters, if you see this kind of corrosion right here, that's where the water's been catching. That's why you always want to double check and make sure this rubber is good on here so it keeps the water out of the carburetor. Make sure your rubber grommets in here is still good. These things can come out with your filters sometimes. They can stick to the bottoms of your filters, and when you pull them out, they'll drop on the ground and you won't even notice it. So make sure when you put it back on that it's still in there. That's going to keep some of that water and dirt out of your carburetor system. On these right here, you can do like any other filter here. We're going to tap them out. Make sure you can see light through. Once you verified that, we can go ahead and put it back on. Next, we're going to check our pull cord rope, make sure there's no burrs or abrasions. If there is, we can change it out. It's very simple. Just going to pull this all the way out. Check the tears. After that, I'm going to go in here and check this right here, make sure our plate's tight for our blade. You can adjust these things with these bolts on the side. They've got these things, they're called wear plates. Basically, what you're going to do is loosen these 4 top bolts. Takes a 3/4 inch socket. You're going to take 9/16 here, loosen these up. Loosen your jam nuts up first, and you can tighten that. It'll bring that plate in there, so this makes this thing ride even. So, and these right here are going to kind of hold this thing from flopping. Next, we're going to come over and check our hydraulic fluids. Hydraulic fluids are marked right here on the marker. You need to check them with this thing up. They need to be in the halfway mark. If they're not, these things take, the older ones are going to take a transmission fluid, and we have one newer one, which is number 4. It's going to take a different fluid. It's going to take a 32 weight. This is number 3. So, basically looking at this right here, it's telling us we need to add a little bit of fluid to this one. So we're going to take a wrench with this and add a little bit of transmission fluid. Kind of hard to get to sometimes. Loosen this up. We'll grab a little bit of transmission fluid from over here on the shelf. It's in a $10 container. You want to make sure it says transmission fluid. Transmission fluid is you can pretty much tell what it is because it's a bright red. But you want to look on the front and see automatic transmission fluid. We've got some other stuff by Kendall as well, like 80/90 gear dope, which goes in our trencher boxes and our tillers. So you just want to verify you've got the right fluid. Putting the wrong fluid in something can do some serious damage, and you'll find out about it too when it happens. So we want to make sure, just do this slow, take our time doing it. You don't want to overfill because then you'll have to drain it. A little bit more. Sometimes you got to give it a second to rise up. Alright, now we're about halfway on the marker. Now we can put our plug back in. We've come up to right about in here now, which is the halfway point. Put our plug back in. Before we check operation, we'll go ahead and check our tires, make sure they got proper inflation. All these tires have PSI ratings inside of them. Check the PSI on this. Let's say they're 32 PSI. Check this on the stick. Now these things, when you're loading them up, you need to let the customer know that they don't need to go more than 35 miles an hour. It's stamped on some of them. These things are very narrow and they will start hopping if you get fast with them. You don't want to go to a NASCAR race with them. Now we're going to check for operation on this machine. Basically, to start this one, you've got your on-off switch here in the back, just like the other Honda engines you started. You've got right here on the bottom, you got a fuel shut off. I generally leave it on, it's to the right. Up here on the top is going to be your choke. These engines generally start in about 1 to 2 pulls, so if for any reason you don't want to, it doesn't want to start in 1 to 2 pulls, try and start with the choke over here in the off position. A good way to remember it when you're first starting doing this. Both these need to be to the right to run, that way you don't flood your engine out. The engine will start making a bogging noise, which kind of lets you, it's a big indicator. You run it with the choke. And if it doesn't want to start for any reason, there's a couple tricks you can do.